At the beginning of the 2018 NBA season, we saw both the Atlanta Hawks and Dallas Mavericks agree to a trade that would swap Luka, Doncic, and Trae Young. As both of these players progressed throughout their respective careers, it's clear that this was one of, if not the biggest trade ever made during the draft. Throughout NBA history, we've seen plenty of other all-time greats such as Kawhi Leonard be traded to another team immediately after being picked as well, which is why in today's video, we're going to be reverting every single one of those trades and send everyone in the league back to the team that originally drafted them. And starting things off with the Philadelphia 76ers, as you can see, they still have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, but now they're adding Drew Holiday, Nikola Vucevic, and Mikal Bridges. This team does add a lot more depth if they do retain their previous draft picks. And to be honest, I am going to move either Tyrese Maxey or Drew Holiday to shooting guard. It looks like either one of them can play that position. And then I'm going to bump Mikal Bridges up to a small forward. So now their brand new starting five should be Drew Holiday, Tyrese Maxey, Mikal Bridges, Nikola Vucevic, and of course Joel Embiid. But moving over to the Milwaukee Bucks, alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo, they now have Malcolm Brogdon, Norman Powell, and Kevin Porter Jr. So this is definitely a downgrade for the city of Milwaukee because of course they no longer have Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, and Damian Lillard. And I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, I highly doubt that Giannis is going to be able to carry this team to the playoffs. But the Chicago Bulls, they are now bringing back Jimmy Butler, Bobby Portis, Wendell Carter Jr., and Yusuf Nurkic. And of course, they do have some other great players like Daniel Gafford and Kobe White down here as well. But as we scroll down, you'll also come across Derrick Rose, and I'm sure you all are very familiar with him. But for those of you that don't already know, this was the youngest player to ever win MVP, and I mean, he forever and always will be a Chicago favorite. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have LeBron, Kyrie, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland. You guys could probably tell that this is for sure going to be a championship contender. That's mainly due to the fact that they have this dynamic duo right here back in place. But anyway, moving over to the Boston Celtics, of course, they still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But for everyone that's unaware, back in the 2020 NBA season, the Boston Celtics actually ended up selecting Desmond Bane and trading the pick later on, which I'm not going to lie to you, that is kind of unfortunate because he turned out to be a good player. And heading over to Los Angeles, as you can see, the LA Clippers have Miles Bridges, Quentin Grimes, and Terrence Mann. So yeah, my team would of course get a lot worse if this scenario would end up coming true. And the Memphis Grizzlies, they relatively look the exact same, but now they're adding Walker Kessler and Trey Murphy III. And now to take a look at the Atlanta Hawks, of course, as you all know, they now have Luka Doncic, but they're also going to be bringing back guys like Al Horford and John Collins. And I don't really know for certain if they're going to make the playoffs, but I can definitely see these guys squeezing in through the play-in tournament. And the Miami Heat, this team pretty much looks the exact same, but the Charlotte Hornets now have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and LaMelo Ball. And I'm going to do these guys the favor and move Shai to a shooting guard. That way he could play alongside LaMelo. But the Utah Jazz, this team does not look good at all. Their two best players are actually Josh Hart and Gordon Hayward. But the same thing cannot be said for the Sacramento Kings, as they now have Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, and Gary Trent Jr. And yet again, I'm going to be moving Tyrese to shooting guard so he can be a part of the starting five. But the New York Knicks, they have Kristaps Porzingis, RJ Barrett. Yeah, these guys don't really look like they're going to be that good. The Los Angeles Lakers, this team really reminds me of the 2019 roster that they were running with. But of course, instead of having LeBron, they actually brought back Julius Randle. And it looks like the Orlando Magic are going to be bringing Domantas Sabonis and Aaron Gordon back to the team. And the Dallas Mavericks, as you guys know, they are bringing back Trae Young. But the one player that some of you guys might have forgot about is actually Jalen Brunson, who's sitting at a 94 overall. So I mean, bringing him back is going to be an absolute win for this team. And I'm also going to move him back to shooting guard. And the Brooklyn Nets have Brook Lopez, Nicholas Claxton. This team doesn't really look like they're going to be that good. The Denver Nuggets have Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, and Rudy Gobert. I kind of find it funny how these two guys were both drafted by Denver but ended up playing for Utah instead. But now instead of being traded away on draft night, they actually get to play for the team that ended up picking them. And moving all the way over to Indiana, we have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Miles Turner, and Benedict Mathurin. I highly doubt that this roster is going to be able to contend for a championship, but you cannot say the same thing about the New Orleans Pelicans because this team is bringing back Anthony Davis, and of course they also have Zion Williamson, Buddy Hield, and Chris Paul. But the Detroit Pistons with Chris Middleton and Cade Cunningham, I don't really know if they're going to be the worst team in the Eastern Conference, but they're definitely going to be one of them. And the Toronto Raptors with Pascal Siakam, DeMar DeRozan, Jonas Valanciunas, and Scotty Barnes. I mean, I can imagine this group of players being really good down the line, and that's mainly due to the fact that they have nearly 2 people in the 90 overall club. But the Houston Rockets, this roster doesn't really look too great. San Antonio Spurs have Victor Wembanyama, Derek White, and DeJounte Murray. So this team is of course going to be a lot better than what they were in real life. And here up next, we have the Phoenix Suns Suns with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. And outside of those two, that's really all that this team has. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder, this team is absolutely loaded with Kevin Durant, Jalen Williams, James Harden, Chet Holmgren, and Alperen Sengun. And I mean, this is by far the most star-studded team in the league. And the Minnesota Timberwolves have Anthony Edwards, Lauri Markkanen, Karl Anthony Towns, and Zach LaVine. The Portland Trailblazers are bringing back Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And the Golden State Warriors look relatively the same, but they are bringing back Jordan Poole. And last but not least, we have the Washington Wizards with Bradley Beal, Jordan Clarkson, and Rui Hachimura. Yet again, this team looks like it's going to be going absolutely nowhere under Bradley Beal's domain. But yeah, there you have it. Those are all 30 teams in the NBA. And really all we can do now is simulate to the All-Star break and see how all the rosters are performing so far. And your top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference are the Philadelphia 76ers, Charlotte Hornets, and Boston Celtics. And I mean, as far as Philly and Boston are concerned, I feel like no one's really surprised about that. But over there in Charlotte with LaMelo Ball and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they seem to be connecting really, really well as they are the 2 seed. And I mean, their bench depth doesn't really look that bad. Cody Zeller is a 77 overall. I'm pretty sure that's incorrect. And the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving are in 4th. And if we scroll all the way down, it looks like the New York Knicks, who are led by Kristaps Porzingis, are the worst team in the NBA. And right there with them are the Detroit Pistons. I don't think anybody expected either of these teams to make it too far, so that's definitely not surprising. But the Indiana Pacers are the 12th seed, and if you guys remember, they do have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and I can't really blame them for being in this position, mainly due to the fact that the bench depth is really, really lacking. And moving over to the Western Conference, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, Golden State Warriors, and Phoenix Suns. I mean, OKC and Golden State, just like Boston and Philly, those 2 teams aren't that surprising. But Phoenix is being led by Devin Booker, who's averaging 35, 7, and 6. Those are like some serious MVP numbers right there. And I mean, this man has absolutely no help. The only person who comes close is DeAndre Ayton, and I mean, he's playing pretty decent. But the Denver Nuggets, this team right here is loaded with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And as always, we gotta go ahead and check who's at the bottom. As you can see, the Los Angeles Clippers, this team right here looks absolutely cheeks. And I almost forgot to mention, but if you are enjoying this video so far, you should definitely consider leaving me a like since it does support the channel. And at the end of the regular season, we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander pulling away with the MVP. Rookie of the Year, of course, goes to Victor Wembanyama. Terry Rozier is actually 6th Man of the Year, followed by Victor winning DPOY as well. And it looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo placed 2nd in MVP voting. And LeBron James, even though he's 39 years old, he still managed to make an All-NBA first team. And earlier we talked about Devin Booker and how he could potentially end up winning MVP. He still ended up averaging 35 a game, but we can only assume his team's record must have declined because he didn't place anywhere in the MVP race. And I also see Trae Young, who averaged 33 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists. So I mean, this wasn't a huge loss for the Mavericks. Of course, they didn't get to keep Luka, but I mean, having Trae Young as a replacement, if he's playing that well, they probably feel just fine missing out on their current day superstar. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and simulate throughout the play-in tournament just so we can see who makes it in and who gets eliminated. And our very first matchup of the postseason, we have an absolute thriller with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Atlanta Hawks. Seeing LeBron James facing off against Luka Doncic, this sounds like it's going to be an absolute movie. And as you guys know, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are also now teammates in the modern day. So we have all types of storylines going on right here. And at the end of their very first matchup, the Atlanta Hawks are going to be pulling away. LeBron James dropped 40 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists, but it wasn't enough to surprisingly stop Kelly Oubre Jr., who had 32, 4, and 1. And Luka Doncic took only 15 shots but threw out 17 assists. But up next, we have the Boston Celtics going up against Jimmy Butler's Chicago Bulls. And I don't know how this keeps happening, but Jimmy Butler is yet again facing off against the team that he hates the most. But in game number 1, the Celtics are going to pull away. Desmond Bane dropped 26 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Meanwhile, on the Chicago Bulls side of things, it looks like they had a lot of players in double digits as their leading scorer only had 16 points. But in the Western Conference, it's the Denver Nuggets going up against the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not really too sure who's going to pull out in this series, but in game number 1, it's the New Orleans Pelicans winning by 16 points. Nikola Jokic had a 25-point triple-double, and Anthony Davis had 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. But in our next playoff matchup with the Lakers and Timberwolves, this game was pretty close for a while, but Minnesota is going to pull away. It looks like both of these teams offensively were getting everyone involved. And you know what? I'm going to actually progress throughout the first round a little bit further. At this point in time, we have 4 series where the leading team is winning 2 2-1. Meanwhile, all the other series, the leading team is up 3-0. And you know what? It looks like Orlando has been eliminated, and there goes Sacramento. The number 1 seeds in the East and West are both going to move on in only 4 games. And after simulating a little bit further, Atlanta and Chicago are both going to be eliminated. And you know what? Let me go ahead and simulate the rest of this round. It looks like the 2-seeded Charlotte Hornets are going to be upset by the Toronto Raptors. And on their way to forcing a Game 7, Charlotte only lost by 7 points. If they were going to pin the blame on anybody, it would be LaMelo Ball and Tobias Harris, as they both shot really inefficiently. But our first match of the second round, we have the Golden State Warriors and New Orleans Pelicans. I'd really like to see Anthony Davis and the rest of his team make it to the conference finals. At this point in time, I don't really know if they have enough ammunition to take down Golden State, but we're just going to have to see. And it looks like Golden State is going to win game number 1. Stephen Curry dropped 41 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. And on the other side of things, we had Zion Williamson with 27, 9, and 6. And now it's time for LeBron to face off against the Raptors. This will be absolutely hilarious if he eliminates this team yet again. And at the end of game number 1, the Cavaliers end up winning by 11 points. LeBron James had 24, 7, and 11. Meanwhile, DeMar DeRozan, who was their leading scorer, only had 13. And over here in the Western Conference, we have Minnesota going up against the OKC Thunder. I mean, unless Anthony Edwards can carry them to victory, I definitely think that the Timberwolves are going to get eliminated here. And in game number 1, it looks like Minnesota is going to be proving me wrong. Kevin Durant had 32 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, while on the other side, Anthony Edwards dropped 39, 6, and 8. But in game number 1, it was close for a while, and the Celtics are going to pull away. Drew Holiday had 22, 0, and 4. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and simulate a little bit further. And at this point in time, it looks like every single series so far is sitting 2-1. So in order for someone to get eliminated, we need to progress even further. And with 21 seconds left, the Pelicans are only down by 2 points, and they hand it over to Chris Paul. But anyway, as of right now, he's just dribbling out the clock. He's more than likely going to be receiving a screen here soon. But anyway, there's 4 seconds left. He drives to the basket. He kicks it back out to Herb Jones, who shoots the 3-pointer, and it is good. And it looks like Stephen Curry did not get the shot off in time, and he didn't make it anyway. And just like that, the Pelicans are going to survive game 6 by only 1 point. And in the Eastern Conference, it looks like LeBron James continues to own the Toronto Raptors, as he's going to be eliminating this franchise yet again. And to close out the series, LeBron had 41 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. And I mean, this was a really great team effort by the Cavs right here. They had multiple people drop 20 points this game. And after simulating past the 4th quarter, it looks like the Oklahoma City Thunder have been eliminated. And I mean, shout out to Anthony Edwards for proving me wrong. I thought these guys were going to be doomed. And I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and assume James Harden is like Hurst or something, because this man cannot win a championship to save his life. And after Philadelphia wins game 6, eliminating Boston, we now have only one game 7 between Golden State and the Pelicans. I feel like there's absolutely no shot Golden State is going to choke right here. And yeah, they definitely are going to prove me right, as they just blew out New Orleans. Stephen Curry had 43 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. Jordan Poole also had 25. Klay Thompson had 20. And just by looking at the box score, it looks like Anthony Davis was the only player who showed up. And our very first Eastern Conference Finals matchup is between the Philadelphia 76ers and Cleveland Cavaliers. If I'm going to be honest, I feel like Cleveland is going to end up winning this series, but they couldn't get it done in game number 1. LeBron James and Kyrie Irving both had terrific nights. And in Golden State, it's Anthony Edwards trying to lead his team to the NBA Finals. I kind of find it funny that he's even in this position right now, because at the current time that I'm recording this video, that's exactly what he's doing right now. And in game number 1, we do have a thriller with Minnesota pulling away. Klay Thompson led his team in scoring with 36, and Anthony Edwards had 50 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. And after simulating a little bit further, both Philadelphia and Minnesota are sitting up 3-0. And I mean, you know what? Can we go ahead and skip to the NBA Finals? Golden State and Cleveland both say no, but the Cavs have officially been eliminated, and it looks like Golden State won't back down just yet. Can Minnesota pull away in 6? Actually, no. And with only 11 seconds left, Golden State is sitting up 7 points, and yeah, that'll have to do it for Minnesota. Stephen Curry and Joel Embiid both win Conference Finals MVPs, and you know, I would not be surprised to see Joel Embiid win his very first championship. And in the first game of the series, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to get it done. Stephen Curry dropped 41, 4, and 7. Joel Embiid had 34, 8, and 8. And the last thing Golden State wants is to go down 2-0 in this series. But I mean, that's exactly what's going to end up happening. Jordan Poole and Stephen Curry both had 27 and 28. And it looks like Joel Embiid dropped 34 points yet again to win the game. And after simulating a little bit further, Philly is really sitting up 3-0. I did did not expect the Warriors to go out this sad. And with 2 seconds remaining, Golden State is only up by 1 point. All they have to do is inbound the ball and hit some free throws. But I mean, if they end up missing only one, there is a chance Philly can hit a full court shot to win the championship. And you know what? It looks like the very first free throw is good. And I mean, you really want to hit this one, because I mean, we've seen crazier things happen in these simulations. But anyway, there goes the second. Now, if they want to force overtime, they have to make a full court heave. And there goes Drew Holiday, who of course, for some reason, just made that shot. I don't know what's wrong with this game. And in overtime, Golden State manages to win one game in the series. And it took Stephen Curry to drop 49, 4, and 13 to get it done. And I mean, Drew Holiday, I can't believe he made a full court shot that easily. And in the 5th game of the series, Golden State is going to bounce back yet again. I feel like every single time I look at Golden State's box score, Steph has at least 40 points. And if he can continue to play at such a high level, there is a chance they will erase this deficit. And on their way to force at game 7, Golden State ends up winning by 30 plus points. Yet again, we have Steph dropping 45, 6, and 7. And with 15 seconds remaining, the Philadelphia 76ers are up by 4 points. But anyway, they pass the ball over to Steph Curry, gives it over to Kevon Looney. They need to get a shot up here. Here goes Draymond Green for 3. He ends up missing it, and I think the Sixers just won an NBA championship. Mikal Bridges is going to have to hit these free throws really quick, and the first one is good. And yeah, after knocking that one down, I'm pretty sure it's over. Here goes Draymond Green from 3 yet again. That shot is good, but I mean, it is officially over. It looks like the Philadelphia 76ers are your brand new NBA champions. Your NBA Finals MVP, of course, is Joel Embiid. And yeah, if you want to go see more videos like this, be sure to check out my most recent upload where we completely reset the NBA using a fantasy draft. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.